Okay, Doug, here's a hot cup of tea there for you,
Gracias.
Mary.
Thank you very much. We're just about to start our
We
little
are
buddies.
indeed, and we've a lot to cover because it's a bank holiday weekend, and we're both in very good form.
Yes.
Because we're both going to head off on holidays, but we will talk about that later. So we want to cover, if we can today, pregnancy, parenting, and holidays. And if we have a bit of space, we'll talk about the books and movies that we would kind of love to take on holiday with us.
Yes,
Yep?
exactly.
Anyway, do you want to kick off?
Well, my pregnancy, I have to say, and I know a lot of women, I've met a few women who said, oh, they had a bad time or they were knackered and all that. I was pregnant at 27 years of age, and it was the most healthiest time of my life.
Well, it is at that
My
age,
hair
it's the
was
right
shiny.
age. Yeah.
I got it cut short. I ran everywhere. And I remember being very well advanced in months. And I used to have to catch a bus to go to work where I worked in Tala. And I'd run from my house on the Crescent up the avenue. And I remember the bus driver when I was getting near the time saying, Jesus, you're going to fall and that baby's going to fly out. Because I used to be running.
Right.
I was never as fit or as healthy when I was pregnant. It was for me, it was the best time of my life and I'd lost nearly 3 stone because I was very sick the first 3 months.
Okay, yeah.
But after that, geez, I mean, I wish I could get back to that health that I had then. I went from 11 stone to 9 stone.
Well,
you know,
secret is get pregnant, Mary.
well, that's it. I think
Obviously, it would make.
I don't think there's any room at the womb.
Well, I was quite the opposite because I got pregnant at 19, and I didn't believe I was pregnant because I thought that you really had to kind of enjoy sex to be pregnant.
Yeah,
you know
well,
what
I think
mean?
we all thought that.
We all thought that, and that's a bit of a you
Yeah.
know. So I was kind of in denial, and for the first 3 months of my pregnancy, and like you, I lost a huge amount of weight. Now, I wasn't that ill, not my first pregnancy, but the weight just fell off me. So much so that I remember when I was about 7 months pregnant, my mother said to me, you just lied about being pregnant to get married.
You were that small?
I was that small, and I said, no, I didn't. And she said, no, you did. You absolutely did. And you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have. And I said, no, I was pregnant. And and that's why I got married. Because when he was born, which was only 3 months later, and that was at 7 months, 2 months later, he was 10.5 pounds. Where I was keeping
were you carrying him?
I just suddenly blew up, literally just suddenly blew up, right? And I didn't start, there's a question here which says, at what age did you become a parent? And I got to be honest and say, I didn't become a parent until probably when I was 50.
Yeah, I agree
Because
with you.
I had no parenting skills, right? I did everything by rote. I think I was just too young myself.
Possibly, well, at 19.
At 19. And I think I did all that was really necessary, and I
To keep him alive.
Oh, absolutely. And I did talk to him as well, and I did smile
All
at
right,
him.
that's all right.
And I did love him.
Yeah.
But I was like a child with a doll.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, parenting, didn't really come into it until, as I say, I mean, I know I said 50, but probably it was a lot younger than that. But yeah, seriously, when I realised how important it is to parent
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
it was too late.
Yeah.
I had made my mistakes. And I just hoped and prayed that my sons would grow up and forgive me.
Well, they did.
Yes, I think they have.
Yeah.
But you know what you had to do? You had to forgive yourself.
You have to,
forgive
yeah. I
myself,
mean,
Mary.
I was blessed in the sense that I was 27 and my mother was still alive and she doted on my daughter and my brother doted on her and my father thought she was the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, wonderful.
They just loved her. And I was still full-time working. After maternity leave, I went back to full-time work and I was exhausted because I was up most of the night. She had colic.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother coming in many a night and taking her and putting her over her shoulder and her skinny little bloody legs in her little nightdress. No, she didn't even have a nightdress. It was a slip she was in.
Yeah.
And her walking the rooms and saying to me, try and get some sleep. And I'd be in work and I worked at Soldering at the time making house alarms.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting one day in the thing, I was this tired, sitting there with the soldering iron in my hand and my little resistors that had to go into this board. And the girl beside me had to push me to wake me up. I'd actually fallen fast
fallen
asleep
asleep.
while I was sitting there. But I think it would have been even worse if I hadn't had that family
to
around
have
me.
that support and
Yeah.
network, and not only that, but for your daughter to have that
A ready-made family.
such
Yeah.
parenting around
Yeah.
her. Like, I mean, she had 2 daddies,
She had.
she had 2 mammies,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, she was the apple of everybody's eye.
She was, yeah.
So she was that. No wonder she likes life in her own space.
Well, that's very true as well,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? That she must be so grounded. I think when
She
you
is.
have that kind of love and that kind of support, you grow up to be a very grounded human being.
She is very grounded. Now, she suffers with anxiety, but then that's not surprising. She lives with me.
I was just going to say,
she'd have to have anxiety. but she has grown up to be a very independent young girl. Obviously, she misses her mammy when I'm away, and I'm always away, so it's hard. But I think parenting, you talking about you didn't learn how to be a parent until you were a certain age. You know, there's no rule book.
No, there
for being a
isn't.
parent.
Yeah.
And if you can, if you're left on your own, you're married at 19 years of age, your child comes along. It's back them days, it was even harder again.
Yeah.
I mean, you did the best you can. Your son didn't die. He didn't
no,
get diseases.
no. I mean, yeah. But I didn't have any support network because I was living in the UK, and the 2 sisters I had there were miles away from me. So, and I, the husband was more of a hindrance than a help. Although he loved the child, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, he was of that old school that
that's the
I
problem.
don't do this kind of thing, and I don't get up for the night feeds, and you do it all, right?
Yeah.
And stupidly, I really believe that's.
Well, you see, that's what you were brought up to believe.
I know, but
I mean,
actually, Mary, I wasn't, because my father did everything for us.
Yeah, same as my dad.
Yeah. So I didn't have. In fact, I think that's why I probably went into a little bit of shock. Because
Possibly.
I think on a conscious level and an unconscious level, I expected that the man I married would be similar to my
your father.
Yeah. And he was so the opposite. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like I couldn't get my head around it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what do you mean you want your shirts ironed?
Yes.
I mean, there's
Polish
the iron.
my shoes. What?
The iron is in the corner, right? And what do you mean your dinner's not on the table? It's 10 minutes late when you walk in. It was like...
So he was old school, really old school.
Really old school, really, really. Well, he'd been spoon-fed by his mother and his sister.
That's another thing
that was
I blame.
The opposite, yeah.
I blame. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I mean, I see a lot of young men today, and they're, Jesus, we had them when we were young, getting married.
Yes.
They'll take the babies out for walks. They'll take their turns at changing the nappies. They'll take their turns at feeding. And in a lot of relationships, I've seen that both of the wife and the husbands are working.
Yes.
But they both take on responsibility. Mm-hmm. Where my parents did that. Your father did it. And your mother did it. So it's way back then, it was bed into everyone that the man went out to work and the mother stood at the fucking sink and washed the dishes and cooked the meals and looked after the babies.
Yeah.
So I think it's lovely today. And not all men are doing it. But the majority of the younger men, I think, are actually doing it.
Oh, yeah, they're standing up to the
They are. And they're actually standing up there, yeah.
Well, plus the fact that most of us now, I mean, whereas women were supposedly out there working for pin money, which was never the case.
No.
Our mothers were out there working to keep food on the table for us.
Correct.
And pay the rent.
Correct.
But I mean, it was assumed by men that, and bankers in particular. I remember going to a bank for a loan and the guy actually laughing at me. No, I was working.
Yeah.
And I had earnings going into the bank. Not a huge amount, but there was a steady income going in. And he said, so how do you propose to pay the loan back with your PIN money?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you actually looked at the account, you'd know it was a little bit more than PIN money. But, oh no, if your husband goes guarantor, then we can...
Yeah.
So you had none of the independence.
That's the way it was back then. I mean, there's one of the questions...
responsibility, yeah.
Yeah, well, the mothers had a lot more responsibility than I hope they have today. There was a question there, do I think that parenting has changed over the last 20 years? Well, I don't think parenting can change much. The basics of looking after a child is loving them, feeding them, keeping them clean, and being there for them and teaching them the ways of life. Mm-hmm. And from what the young mothers I've seen, now not all of them, What really upsets me is seeing these young girls who go out and get pregnant at the age of 16 and they have no idea. And just like what you were saying, I thought I was playing with my doll.
Absolutely.
And that's what it looks like with them. But you take a sensible woman who decides, her and her partner decide they're going to have children.
It's a choice, yeah.
All they can do is do the same things we did, is make sure the child are safe, make sure you love them and you encourage them and you help them to be happy and just be there with them, talking to them, reading a story, very important to young children.
Yeah.
Before you put them to bed, to sit down and read a story. And if you can do that with two parents, that's even better. And act out the story.
Yes.
Just not get them too, excited before they're going to sleep.
Yeah.
But even act out some of it and say, and make the story exciting so they go to sleep and you hope they have sweet dreams about it. But that's what parenting is about. There's no perfect way to parent.
No.
And I don't think it's changed in 20 years. I think people have changed. But the parenting thing stays the same, because you got to look after the child. You've got to make sure you brought that child into the world. That's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And you've got to take care of them. That's what I think. Do you think has changed?
Well, yeah, I was most definitely changed from my day.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, looking at my sons, I mean, my younger son has 3 children.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing father. He's a real hands-on dad.
Good.
As well as working God knows how many hours. I mean, I don't know how he does it.
But he's taken after your father.
Oh, absolutely. And he's he does the shopping, he does the cooking. Like when I go over visit, right, he actually does the cooking, which really surprises me. And my other son is the same. My eldest son is the same.
Then you did something right.
I think their stepdad was a very hands-on dad.
Right.
And he had kind of taken them on when they were very young. Lee was only 2 and Stuart was 5 or 6. So that learned behaviour. So they took on, I mean, and Terry was great. He would go out, he'd do the shopping. He would come home. Because I was working full time.
Yes.
And he took that on board. He said, in fact, at one stage, I was earning more than him. And he said, if we were to do it on a pro rata basis, that means I should be paying more, which I was, because we were very socialist minded. And I said, well, in that case, I said, you should be doing more housework than me. You know what I mean? Because I'm putting more food on the table. So we used to have lovely discussions about it. Right?
Yeah. But at least you had somebody there that you could talk about, even though they weren't his boys and I mean, biologically.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate second time round.
Yeah.
In so much as he really did take on, he really stood up to the plate.
Good man.
And he was a great one for conversation. I mean, he was a great one for discussing, never leaving anything.
Yeah.
Like, if there was an issue and there was a bit of a mood around the table, it would have to be resolved before we all left the table.
Yes. That's good.
And that was good because I was kind of a person that I could walk away from it and say, well, look, I won't take it on just now.
Yes.
I'd be too hot-headed.
Leave it till later, because I'm going to blow.
Oh, absolutely. He says, no, we need, really need
Well, there is an old saying that, if you have a fight with your partner, don't go to sleep on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Before you say sorry or whatever.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows, tomorrow's not promised to anyone. So that's what that comes from.
So how was teenagehood for you when your daughter hit her teens? Was that troublesome? Did you find that easy? Was she an easy person?
I have to say I had no trouble with Deborah. I don't know where I got her from.
Yeah.
Because she was genuinely not my child. Because in my teens...
Well, maybe they made a mistake at the hospital.
Well, maybe they did.
That's been known.
No, she's too much like her father. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I mean, when I was a teenager, I was a runaway. I was mad. I was drinking in the fields with the gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I ran away from home at 16 to be with me fella that was 23.
Yeah.
So she done nothing like that. She went to school. She got work. She went out and did her own thing. I never had a policeman or anyone knocking at my door to say that she was... As a matter of fact, some of her friends were so jealous that they bullied her. Because they were going out doing mad things, getting into trouble, and she wasn't.
Right, yeah.
So no, I didn't. I have to say, I did not. And she always makes me smile now. She makes me, at this point in time, we're still living together, and I could kill her. And I'm sure she could kill me.
Right.
But as a teenager, I never had a problem. She was always there to do whatever I asked her to do, and she was a good kid.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Well, I was lucky also. I mean, they weren't troublesome, but I do remember, and I think it's a boy thing.
Yeah.
A man thing. that when they get to about 14 in particular, they lose the power of speech, right? And all they do is grunt.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So coming from school, coming from college and from school, how was your day? Okay. Did you do anything interesting? No.
Yeah.
And that lasted for about 4 years.
You can't get that now them at all.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I think.
But there are girls like that
I
too.
know. Oh yeah, but I think with girls, they're much more open and they're much more volatile. And I know it's all about hormones.
Yes.
Right. And they just don't. Boys don't know how to express it.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember my youngest son in particular. He had his hair. He watched Dancing with Wolves, I think it was.
Right.
Daniel Day-Lewis, right, with the long hair and so on and so forth. And the next thing, he's growing his hair really long, right? And but his hair had a tendency to curl, right?
Lovely.
So he'd wash it, right, and he would leave it soaking wet. He wouldn't put a towel near it, and he'd come down ready for college with his white shirt on, and the hair
dripping
stuck
down the back of
his back.
Yeah.
And I'm going, you can't go out like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally cannot go out like that. No, leave me alone, Ma. Leave me alone. Right? So image became important for them.
Yeah.
But he still wasn't able to really kind of verbalise his feelings.
Yeah.
And but I do remember the Daniel Day-Lewis image, and I thought, oh God, please. So you'll never get a job if you go out for an interview with your hair like that. And all he did was actually tie it back, with a ponytail.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I remember that style. I do
And they
remember.
were definitely, I mean, I had my head in the sand because there was a lot of drugs going around at the time, and particularly marijuana.
Yeah.
And my sons didn't do with that.
No, well, I understand
Right,
that.
and I reckon there were some days around the dinner table that they were both so almost comatose that they couldn't have a conversation with
Yes,
me.
yeah.
They had this kind of glazed
The
look
glazed
in their
look,
eye.
yeah.
It took me years to realise that, they did partake, and they'd laugh about it now when they're telling me.
And they were lucky because they've come away from that and
Oh,
gone on with their
absolutely.
lives.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
a lot of young kids don't get that chance or don't take that chance.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, so there was that kind of thing. That was a worry that, are they really taking harder stuff? Is it just marijuana they're
That
taking?
is the worry, yeah.
Yeah. It was a growing experience for them, and certainly a growing experience for me.
I dare say that I actually do feel sorry for boys from, as a young kids, because a lot of the time, I don't know how it is today, but a lot of the time, first and foremost, the mother will constantly, my son, my son, my son.
Yeah.
And society would tell him that he must, I don't know, as I said, I don't know about today, but at the time when I was growing up, society would tell the child, that the boy, that he must be the sole earner of the house.
Oh, absolutely.
And you cannot cry because then you're a girl
Big
if you
boys
cry.
don't cry, yeah.
I remember the first time I seen my father cry. And I actually thought he was the strongest man
For doing
I had
that.
ever seen because he was able to show. My father always showed his emotions.
Oh, lovely.
And I just think that we should, I don't mean bring our boys up to be like girls, but allow them to show, if they feel sad, instead of daddy turning around and saying, for God's sake, grow up, will you, be a man.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not fair.
No.
It's not fair on the boy.
No.
I do feel sorry for them because they do seem to have a harder time adjusting. Am I to be the hard man or am I to be nice and kind? Will I be called a wimp if I'm nice and kind to girls? And that goes through their heads as they're growing up, and then their hormones are changing and the whole lot. So I do feel sorry for young men, and I feel sorry for the young girls as well. But young men, I've just seen so many of them walking around as if they have the weight of the world on their shoulder, and a lot of them would love to be able to just stand there and tell their story and cry.
Yeah, and I think, there's so much social media pressure on
Hugely,
young teenagers
hugely.
now. And that they're trying to live up to an image that is totally unrealistic.
Exactly.
And I despair around that. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge amount of younger girls from 11 to 15 suffering from anorexia.
Yeah.
Right? And you go, what is
It's
this
because
all
they're
about?
watching, they think all these filters and the whole
That's
lot.
it, And I mean, I despise watching programs, and I don't watch them, like Love Island.
I don't watch it either now.
Because I reckon that those, and I've read somewhere now, I didn't go in depth to it, but after they have been on Love Island, a lot of them need therapy.
I'm not surprised.
Because of the psychological effect.
Their emotions are up
they're
and
put
down.
Oh, yeah. And behaving in a certain way, looking a certain way.
And a lot of them are plastic.
And every woman looks the same. Every young girl looks the same.
Yeah, there's no individuals.
No, I just see...
They all have the big plastic boobs and
Yes.
the big bum sticking out and
the
the
big
lips are out
lips
here.
that you
and
can stick on a car window, and you just go,
do men really find that attractive?
Well, I think...
Or is it the fantasy they find attractive?
I don't know. You see, I put down an image. What women should look like is definitely perceived by men.
Oh, it is, yeah.
We're getting their perception. And most marketing companies are run by men, believe it or not. So you get this, this is what a man wants a woman to look like. This is not what we look like. This is not what we are.
Yeah.
We bear no resemblance. We're all different sizes, different shapes, different personalities, different looks. We don't need all this enhancement. It's almost like that we're not good enough on our own.
Yeah.
We're not good enough in our own skin. And that's the message that social media and marketing companies and PR companies are bashing out to young people.
Yeah.
You're not good enough.
Yeah. Well, I think for our age, for my age, and anyway, I don't mind having a bit of Botox and a little bit of tuck and nip and tuck here
it's
and there.
To make you look good for your age.
Yes,
you're
for
not
my age.
trying to look younger.
You're not trying to look
I'm not.
like... Yeah, no, I'm not.
But I want to look good for my age, and there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I think, and there's nothing wrong in taking a pride in how you look.
Correct.
However, there's nothing wrong in a woman who decides, I don't want to go down that route.
I like the few wrinkles.
I
have
like
in
the
my
wrinkles.
Face. Yeah.
I like the natural look. Absolutely. So I think we just judge each other too harshly when it comes to how we
and
look.
that's why it's even harder, I think, for young parents.
Yeah.
Growing up into a world that's completely different to what we grew up in, with the social media and with two of them having to work and pay huge mortgages and stuff. Yeah. So they don't really get a chance to enjoy what they're doing, because either he has to go out and do 2 jobs, or she'll have to get a job, which means the baby has to be minded, or the children, whatever way it is. And then, God love them, when are they going to get time for themselves? Mm-hmm. It's bloody hard.
So
being
what
a parent
advice
today.
would you give a young couple now who are expecting today, and then in 9 months' time they're going to have their first child?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be the one to give advice, but I would always say make time for each other if you can. Mm-hmm. I can't turn around and say try not to have 2 people working you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Not in today's house prices and food and the whole lot. Both of them need to be out there doing their own bits and pieces, and it's good for their mental health, but sometimes it can affect the mental health of the child if the parents are so weighed down with what they have to do that the children are not getting their time. So my advice would be, I know it's hard to do this, but yes, you have 2 jobs, right? She's a job, he's a job, or she has a job and he has a job. Always, even if it's only an hour a day, to make time to cuddle the little ones and to tell them you love them and to tell them you're proud of them. Just little things like that. That's what I would say. And to try make, once again, one night, even if it's every 2 weeks, just for you and your partner, and go out and see a movie, have dinner, whatever. Just make sure, because your mental health will affect your children's mental health. And if you're not happy, it can be a breakup of a marriage, which will affect the kids again. So the kids are in the middle. So you two need to look after yourselves. I know it's bloody hard, but you can do it. You can find that time if you really love each other and you really want to keep everything going. So that would be my advice. Make time for yourself, an hour at least every day, if possible, with your children, hugging them, kiss them. Tell them a bed story every night. Be together. Let them see us together, because that will impact on a young person's mind, and they will always have that image of mommy and daddy together.
And do you think it's a good age for a woman and a man, but a woman in particular, to have a baby, to have her first baby? Is there an ideal age?
Oh, well, I tell you, as the years went on with us, people, young women were getting married at the age of 19, as you know. My sister was married at the age of 19, had her first baby when she was 20. I just think there's too much in this world to see when you're that age.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, when you're that age, it depends
so much
on
to
your
experience.
Yeah. Depends on who you are as well. It's not for everyone. But if you were one of those people who really, really wants to, see the world or see something before you get that tie down, as they say, then I would say 27, 28, 30.
It's the ideal age.
It's the ideal for you to start thinking about your family and having a family. Because I think if you don't get all of that freedom out of your system, and this is the same for men as well, that will always be at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you will blame the other person that you didn't get to do this because you feel they may have trapped you into a marriage. So I think, wait until you're ready. If you're going to have sex, use a condom and go on the pill. There's so much that can be done to stop you from having babies and having to go for an abortion or, look after yourselves. Enjoy sex. But look after yourselves and don't be bringing unwanted poor little kids into a world where you're not ready to sit with them.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think there's a huge advantage. I mean, I know I had my first one at 20 and my second one at 26.
Yeah.
And I when I had my second child, I really felt emotionally, physically,
ready,
mentally ready for a baby.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with it had nothing to do with as a couple we were bringing this child. As a woman, I was bringing this child into the world.
Yes.
Because I knew that my marriage was very rocky, even at that time.
Yes.
But I really felt I was emotionally ready to give the child the love and parenting that the child needed. The advantage of having Stuart at a young age meant that when I was 40, he was 20.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So there was advantages to it. I think if I have any regret, it's not so much the age time I had it, is that I didn't have the awareness. And you can't regret what you didn't have.
No, that's very true.
But I didn't have the awareness and the skills when he was born that seemed to be there naturally when Lee came along.
Yeah.
So that would be, I would love to have been able to address that balance, but I couldn't and I can't.
Yeah.
And I just have to accept that that's the way it was.
Yeah, but I do think that we're getting a lot more people today. Young people are more healthier than we were. They're living longer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen a mother, she was in her 60s or something like that, but she was out walking her child and playing, frisbee.
Yes.
So that the mothers today and the fathers today are a little bit
much
more
healthier than they were.
Yeah, they're looking after themselves better.
Yeah.
Because way back in the day when my mother was a young woman, they weren't looking after. They hadn't got the health thing they had. You know what I mean?
And then got the resources, Mary. They never stopped, don't they?
Never had a penny. I mean, I can remember my poor mother with a scrubbing brush on the floorboard. The floorboards of the corporation had put down, and we're scrubbing them until they were white.
Clean. Yeah.
And the knuckles on her hands ripped and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for, things that have changed in this day and age. But there's also, because we have a lot more that helps us, we also have a lot of people who are doing the wrong thing or not being able to cope.
Yeah.
And I do, and I will say this, and I love Facebook, and I love I don't know an awful about technology. I hate technology. I can never do it. But I think with younger girls, not younger girls, younger kids, boys and girls, there is far too much on it. And I feel sorry for the parents there. But I don't believe that any child should have a phone until they're of a right age. And if they are going to have one because the mother needs to know where they're, then they should be monitored at all times.
Yeah.
Because there's far too much out there on the internet.
Oh, well, it should.
For those kids
I
to
think
see.
it should just be speed dial for mommy and daddy's phone number, and that is it.
Yeah.
The rest is disabled until you're 15, 16.
That would give them the safety and the thing. The mother then knows, But it's a hard
It is.
world.
I think it's information overload as well for kids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there's just far too much. And I mean, they can go on to websites purely by default. And there's far too much bullying. There's far too much grooming going on. It's a scary medium.
It's a scary world out there for the young kids and the young parents who are bringing up their children today.
Last question on parenting now, Mary. At what age do you think we should stop parenting?
Well, that's a hard one for me to bloody well answer because I'm still parenting. Because, again, there's only me and Deborah. Now she's 37. And she has no intentions of getting married. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to have kids.
Yeah.
She's quite content to stay with Mammy.
Yeah.
Now, albeit people would say, well, that's great, you'll have someone to look after in your old age, but who's going to look after her? So I don't think we ever stop parenting. I think that even when they're married and living out on their own, in the back of your head, you're always worrying. I know my mother used to say this to us, and we all left the house. So there was nobody kind of hanging around my ma.
Yeah.
But she used to always say that even when we weren't there, we were on our mind.
Yeah.
And she was always worried about something happening to us. And as soon as she'd find out we were home or we were safe, then she could rest. So I don't think mummies and daddies ever stop parenting their children.
Yeah.
In whatever way it is.
I know age-wise, I mean, I asked myself that question only because I think that if I don't move away from the mammy parenting bit, it gets in the way. It gets in the way of openness and freedom and the relationship that we could really have between two human beings, between a man and a woman. Have you got me?
Yes, I get you. Yeah.
And so he doesn't have to be a son. He doesn't have to relate to me as a son. He relates to me as a man.
Yeah.
And I relate to him as a woman. And I wonder, and I don't know, because I've not been able to achieve it just yet, but I do aspire to it. And I wonder, would it make it for a richer relationship? Now, at a certain age, mine are well grown up now and well independent. And I, I wouldn't feel so guilty sometimes about things. I wouldn't.
I get you.
Have you got me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel so responsible because I'm not responsible. Yeah. I can't alter your life. I can't change anything for you. I can be there as a really good support for you. And yes, but not coming from the mother aspect. Because I think mothers and fathers would become too judgmental.
Yeah.
Right? And instead of just having an open discussion about an issue or a problem that they might have, leave the critic, leave the judge outside the door. Yes. Because that's the mother and the father. That's like, see, now I could have told you that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So at what stage, and I mean, I'm asking you a question that I'd love to be able to answer myself.
I can't even answer it. I mean, to be honest with you, sometimes, and I love my daughter so much, and I love the fact that she's still living with me, but sometimes I just wish she'd go out and get her own life, because she seems to be, a lot of the time she is obsessed with Mammy, because she doesn't want Mammy to die, or she doesn't want Mammy, she doesn't want Mammy to die.
Yeah.
And I find that very choking. That
hold
hold is on me.
Because that is going to happen.
But I'm a free spirit, and I love being able to just get up and do my own thing.
Of course
she can't understand that. She still thinks that I should be there as her mother.
Right. Yeah.
Even though we're friends.
Suppose,
But that frightens me, and that makes me angry.
Yeah. Now I get that. That's what I mean about at what age do we have to have that discussion?
I've had the discussion. It just doesn't work with Deborah.
Listen, we need to relate as two women, adult women living together by choice.
Yeah. Well,
adult women with a history. I need to stop being your mum.
Yes.
In so much as I need to stop controlling or influencing.
Yes.
And And you need
to see me as a person, as not
Mary.
just Mammy.
Yeah, not just Mammy, as Mary. With a life and a future and a free spirit.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
that if the natural order of things will be purely because I'm older than you, I will die before you.
Yes.
That's going to happen. If everything goes as it should.
Yes.
I'm going to die before you. And you're already worrying about the fact that who will look after her.
Yeah.
But you're still...
I used to watch... I watched The Golden Girls. Did you ever hear The Golden Girls?
I love The Golden Girls.
I love them. Yeah. And there was one statement in it where the mother and Rose, who is the daughter, and she's, oh, Mammy, now sit down there, Mammy. And the mother loses the head and said, I'm going to your brothers. I'd have more fun there. And they go into the bedroom. And to make a long story short, the mother says, Rose tells the mother she loves her.
Yes.
And she's just frightened of her dying. And the mother sits down and says, I know you are, but you stopping me living is not going to keep me alive.
Absolutely.
And I just thought that was... So I grabbed Deborah one day, deliberately put that particular thing on and said, just listen to this.
Listen to that. Yeah.
And she did. But did she hate it? I don't know. She's obsessed with this owl one. I mean, I'd love to get away from this owl one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I left my mother. I went out and did my own thing. And I just find it hard that Deborah is not Yeah, that's her. That's who she
But then
is.
also, but roles do change with age as well. I find
it's
that my
changed with
sons
us.
now, when I'm talking to them about something, or they actually talk to me like I'm the fucking child. Excuse my French. It's
Yes, very true.
like,
That's exactly. Yeah.
That I'm going, oh, what did the roles reversal happen here?
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
like, now, Ma, you need to take it easy.
That's my daughter. Yeah.
Right? And I go, hold on a second now.
Yeah.
I'm not an invalid.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting old. But this kind of, Ma, you
Yeah.
need to,
Yeah.
what you need to do, Ma, is,
Yeah.
what you need to think, Ma, is. And I'm going, now that is too much of a head.
It does my head in.
It does my head in. And I go, no, not ready for that.
Yeah.
Really not ready for that.
I gave up the cigarettes. I stopped over drinking because I used to overdrink a lot and have a great old time.
Yeah.
I don't go out an awful lot now, only when I'm working.
Absolutely.
And it's still not enough.
Right. Yeah.
Because she's just trying to hold on.
She wants to take
and
care
she
of you.
can't.
Yeah.
I need to be out there.
Of course you do.
I love her to bits. She is my world.
Yeah.
But I need my life. If that's the life she's chosen and she's happy in it, sitting at home and going to work and just going out with her friends whenever.
Not.
I'm not like that.
Of course you're not. No, you want your freedom.
So it's that's another hard parenting
Getting that balance.
thing.
It is.
It is.
And it's even hard. It's harder now because of the age thing. It's much harder because you go, I don't want to be playing this role.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. At the same time, can we ever move away from it?
Yeah. I don't think we can ever move away from it. But I think that if we could get the right balance, as you said, and get our children to understand that we are a person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Other than your mother, we're a person.
Yeah.
We're always going to be here as a mother, but we need to live our lives.
Absolutely.
And we need to be able to talk as two adults. That's what we need to do. And that's going to be a hard thing to do for any parents.
Yeah.
And I do pity. Listen, I have the utmost respect for young parents starting out today.
Yeah.
Or any parents, because what they have ahead of them, I hope it's going to be more happier than the pitfalls that
we're
God
dealing
loves them.
with now.
God loves them when the kids come to, teenage years and they become this, as you said, hormone engrossed person who just can't stand you. I hate you.
Oh yeah.
And you're standing there going, I didn't do anything.
Oh, you know nothing. I remember my sons were getting to about 7 or 8 years of age and suddenly realising that they had a brain themselves and went, Ma, you know nothing.
Yeah.
What? Yesterday, I knew everything in your book. Mammy could not do anything wrong.
That's very true.
And today...
You know nothing.
Oh, God, you know nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's true.
It's going through that development stage with them.
It's hard. Yeah. Parenting is one of the hardest jobs in the world. And I tell you now, the top guy who has the highest IQ would say the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It is one of the hardest things. And that goes for both parents.
Yeah.
To be able to get a balance between their lives, their own lives, and to get a balance for the kids to be happy.
And to enjoy
each time. And to enjoy the
joy
kids
they
growing
bring.
up.
The joy they bring.
That's what makes me sad about, young couples today having to buy a house and the mortgage is sky high. And they have to go out and work.
Yeah.
They miss out on so much of their little kids
They do.
growing up. And I mean, the middle of the day is when they might just turn around and speak for the first time. And the poor old feckers are out working.
Absolutely. Or they take their first step.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, you know what? They deserve medals and golden cups and
they do.
stuff
They
like
do.
that.
It's a really hard one.
This is a question I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
This is a good one. I think it's a good one because I remember the first time I felt it. When your kids became crack. They had a bit of crack and you actually got a bit of fun out of them.
When was the age that they've really been... I had great crack with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when they left home, I really had great crack. And the crack was mighty once they left, right? But I know, to be honest with you, I think it was probably... I'd say great crack for me was, say, from... the first 6 months of their lives because they were totally dependent. I was the only thing that they needed, right?
Yes.
I was their world, right? Then when they got to about 3 to 6, I loved their imagination. I loved their creativity. I loved their sense of fun. I loved the way they were capturing the world.
Yes.
The wonder in their eyes when
Yes.
they saw something new. Oh, to me, that was absolutely delightful. I loved when they started relating stories. They started making up their own stories, right? I used to read a storybook to my son. It was called Santa Mouse. Every Christmas I
I know
read it to
Santa
him.
Mouse, yeah.
And from the time he was a year old, now when he got to 5, he knew every word in that book, and he used to pick it up and read it word for word. And everybody used to say, "Oh my God, he's only 5, and look at the words he's."
He'd
And I'm
memorised.
going, he's memorised it. He's memorised it,
Yeah.
right? And I loved that ability that he had.
Yeah.
And when we'd be on a bus, that was before I could drive, and I travelled on the bus everywhere, and he tried to read signs, right?
yeah.
And he got on. I remember a woman got on the bus one day, and she had kind of cold sores down the side of her face.
Not coleslaw now.
No, not cold
sauce.
sores. And he said, he was about 5, and he's looking really closely at her, and he said, "You need to put some gasoline on that."
Oh,
Gasoline.
God bless him.
And I said, "I think you mean Vaseline." Do I? Oh, no, gasoline, Mummy. So
Gasoline.
it's just watching their lovely development, and
Yes.
and that was great crack. When they were teenagers, I enjoyed that. I did enjoy, even though they were kind of, hiya ma, that was it.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was times when we did have a bit of fun and we did have a bit of crack. And obviously now it's great because
Yeah, because they're grown up, they have their
they're
own
grown up
families
and they've
and
kids
stuff,
themselves,
yeah.
and they can relate to me on a completely different level.
That's
But
lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah. For me, it was a kind of when you hear the first little words coming out and that baby talk. Oh, yeah. Oh my God, it used to melt my heart when I could hear. And even now with a friend of mine's baby, she's just hitting 2 and she's starting to speak.
Yeah.
And it's that little baby voice that just sends
Shivers down your spine. Yeah.
But I mean, I think, it was Christmas time when when she was about 2, I started to have the real crack, Because I remember my mother bought a beautiful doll, all dressed up in this beautiful box and the whole lot. And we came down, myself and my brother were down. I always remember it was 7 o'clock in the morning and peeling sprouts for my mother because she's still in bed.
Okay.
And we're watching a film on the telly called White Christmas. Do you remember that one? Bing Crosby?
Yeah, do we ever?
And she's opening up her presents. And the next thing, I see the doll put onto the sofa and she's in the box and she's a stick in her hand and she's pretending she's a turtle going down through the sewers. Because you remember the turtle? Teenage.
Yeah.
That was when I realised that this little person had a personality of their own and imagination of their own.
Absolutely.
And it was then I enjoyed her all the time, but it was then I started to enjoy the little things.
The little things,
One day she came in and I came in from work and she's standing, I don't know how it happened, she's standing with my daddy's big army boots on her and a cap on her head over at the thing, playing with 2 dolls. And she didn't even see me coming into me or back to me. But when she turned around, she had a dirty big black thing across it. It looked like Hitler. With the cap and the big shoes.
Oh,
it's
brilliant.
just small little things.
Oh, you reminded me of a really funny story that, real again, and Lee was about 6 weeks old and I was able to feed him myself, which I wasn't able with Stuart because we were both cesareans.
Yeah.
And I was home. I was probably home he was only about 3 and I was feeding him anyway. And I wanted to be a real hip mum, so I didn't want to hide anything from Stuart, who was 4.
Yeah.
And so I started getting ready and I said, okay, I'm just going to go in and feed the baby. So he said, yeah. I said, would you get me a towel, sweetheart? So I involved him in everything. You get me
which
the
is
towel,
good,
You get me this. So he's getting me the little jobs and I got myself ready and I got the baby on and he's looking at me and he's looking at the baby and he says,
I can imagine his face.
what are you doing, Mammy?
Ah, God,
And I said,
love
I'm
him.
feeding the baby, love. Oh, he's never going to eat. Oh.
That is typical of what a kid would say.
It was like, he's never going to eat all that. And I went,
That's good.
Sweetheart.
That's a good one. I think we're just going to take a tiny little break because
Yes.
We need a few more things to talk. We're going to talk about when we come back, holidays.
Yes.
And what's the other one we were talking about?
We're going to go, loads. We've holidays. There was Madonna, we're going to do like city breaks and things like that.
Yeah.
There are holidays, there are other things. And
Yeah.
I thought if we have time, I'd love to know any good book recommendations that you've read.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what
Well,
your
if we don't get
favourite
to them-
TV programme out.
Yes.
That kind of thing. We'll see if we have the time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll come back.
We'll just take a slight break
We're
now.
all going on a
Summer holiday, no more working for a week or two. I'm sure the people listening to this are going to kill us because we won't know. See you in a minute.
Yeah, in a minute. See you later, guys. Bye. Okay, welcome back, listeners, to the Wise Owl Wans podcast. Now, we are about to tell you about our holidays. We're going to talk all thing holidays.
Yes.
And I want to talk immediately about the fact that I'm going on holiday on Sunday morning to Barcelona, and I'm getting on a cruise ship, the first ever, Mary. I've never been on a cruise ship before.
You're going to love it.
And so I'm doing a Mediterranean cruise, only 7 nights. And there's loads of things to do, but there's loads of tours to go on and so on and so forth. But I've made a decision that I'm not getting off that ship.
Yeah, because most of there's the docks when there's nothing there.
It's far too far. The tours are 2.5 hours to get to Rome. If I want to see Rome, I will fly and see Rome for the weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
I cannot wait to have cocktails by the pool.
Oh, stop.
I believe there are ice cream places
Oh,
that
yes,
you just pour the
yes,
ice cream on.
yes.
I'm going to have my tongue underneath this fountain going, Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, no,
so
they are.
I'm
They're
really,
brilliant.
really looking forward
I
to
will
it.
say that cruising for me, I love cruising. If I had the money, I would cruise every year.
Would you?
Because I love them. And the first one I ever went on was a week as well. And I had to, when I went back to do the second one, do a 10-day one. And then it went from 10 days to 12. A 12-day cruise is probably enough.
Perfect, yeah.
It's perfect. Because you're flying into where you have to fly into, that takes kind of the day, and you're on the ship then. So,
yeah.
And it just gives you that extra time. But you get up in the mornings, it's like being on a floating hotel. Because you walk down, your food is all ready for you to go down and take wherever you want. You have shops, and most of the big ships have all these fancy shops in them. It's like a little city downstairs.
But no prices on them, no?
No prices on them. And they can be a bit expensive.
I won't be buying, right?
But there is a little tip that I'll give you. Near the end, coming to the night before you leave the ship, they normally have big sales.
Really?
So jewellery and all goes down,
You're
and
kidding.
perfume and makeup, it all drops down.
All drops down.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you see something, say, in the middle of the week you like, and you ask the
Absolutely.
price.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, say it's 190.
Yeah.
By the time you go back, you're looking at 100. The 90 is gone.
Right, the night is gone. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'll
so,
do.
yeah.
I'll save me pennies then. For
Do
the
save your
sale.
pennies at the
Yeah,
end, but go
yeah.
on, try and get to the spas.
Yeah,
Spas. What is the right word?
Spa. Yeah.
Try and get to them and see a bit of them. But I mean, if you're staying on the ship, which I would do now because I've seen most of the little ports that I've gone to, I would stay on the ship and I would lie at the pool all day long.
Oh, I've every
because there's
intention.
music playing.
Absolutely.
And you can still have your cocktails and just lie there.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. And hopefully everybody else will be on tour, so I'll have the place to myself.
Well, you will have most of the ship to yourself.
really
but there's
looking-
great shows on these ships as well.
Is there?
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
down to the little theatres, a couple of theatres on them, and you go in, you see a comedian, or you might see a magic trick, or you might see music, a whole show being put on for you. It's fabulous.
Have you worked on cruises yourself,
I
Mary?
have. I've done 3 cruises with a lady called Gertrude Bourne,
Right.
who is an Irish American. She left Ireland when she was 17, and she came from Cong, where Maureen O'Hara came from.
Okay.
And she started up these ships when she was in her late 50s or something.
Wow.
But these ships go around the Caribbean and also they go around the Mediterranean. So I did one with Cliff Richard. I did the other one with Engelbert Humperdinck.
Wow.
And do you remember Charlie Pride?
Yes,
I
do
did
remember.
2 of them
I
with
love Charlie Pride.
He's just the nicest guy ever
Isn't he
met.
just?
And of course, Daniel himself, Daniel O'Donnell. I've been on them with Nathan Carter and Michael English and all
for
of them.
God's sake. That's not work, Mary.
It's not.
So how many nights would you have to work?
I would only, for me, I mean, the main acts do more. But for me, I had only done, I think, the very first year I went on it, I did 2 20-minute slots.
Okay.
And the rest of the day I had to spend with she liked you to go out and mix with the people and get to know
that's
them.
part of the PR.
Yeah, and then at night time on her ships, which was Holland America's, she ran, they had this piano bar where she'd expect a lot of the artists that weren't working to go down and sing a song with Michael English on the piano.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
we did that.
yeah.
It was great crack.
Great.
You didn't feel you had to work, but you knew
you'd do it.
Yeah.
Well, it was no effort to work.
Not at all. It was
20
brilliant.
minutes. But sure, listen, could I clean the stage and go
You
on?
could.
You
could.
Yeah.
But I remember we stopped off in America and I had no clothes for stage. And remember, this is my first time on a cruise ship.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when we were told we had to dress a certain way for dinner.
Yeah.
This is what she liked.
Yeah.
But I remember we were in America. I can't remember the name of the shop that we were in, but it was a shop in America and did all these fancy dresses.
Yeah.
And we'd go in and I bought the most beautiful red dress with all this glitter on it and thing for the stage for $25.
Where'd you get it?
That's what I'm telling you. It was in America, but I don't know where it was. It was in, we flew into Fort Lauderdale.
Yes,
and there was a shop there.
They have a lot of second-hand shops there, but there are second-hand shops and vintage shops.
Dresses.
Like we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No comparison.
So I bought 2 dresses. I bought one for the first show and one for the second show.
Wow.
And I still have those dresses and they're still in peak condition. And I'll often wear them when I'm doing a big show on stage or something
absolutely.
like that. But $25. And I remember going on the stage and getting off your cruise now, but we'll get back onto it. But I remember going on the stage for the first time and I was so excited. You know what us Irish are like when we get a bargain?
Absolutely.
And I remember my manager, Cathy, saying to me, do not tell the people how much you paid for that dress. Right, so I said, okay, I won't. No, I won't.
Yeah.
I'm only on the stage 2 seconds. Do you like me frock?
Says you, me frock, it's only $25.
Yeah. And I thought it was brilliant. But no, cruising, the work cruise was great, but going on a cruise and having a holiday
is a different experience altogether.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love
well,
it.
I'm hoping this is going to be the first of many.
Oh, I hope it is for you. I bet you it will be.
Yeah. You know,
I bet you it will be. I hope you don't have a bad reaction on it. We actually went one time around February, and we did one night where we did a bit of a rocky. Where you're going at a time of year where the weather is cool. But we went in February, and I mean, Daniel O'Donnell was on the stage, and he's singing a song, and the next thing he's here, and then he's over here.
Oh wow!
Because the ship was just kind of. And any of us that got on the stage, I mean, I remember walking, going on, and I had to pretend. I said shouldn't have had that brandy, you know. And the people are laughing. They know that the ship is rocking. But you're going at a time when the seas will be fairly smooth. Yeah. And all you'll hear, I swear, it gets, and you know what puts you to sleep as well? There's a tiny little rocking when you're in the bed. Okay. And it's kind of, it's very,
that would put me to sleep.
It's very smooth. And you're kind of, it's gentle like that.
Yeah.
And you just go into a deep sleep.
Oh my God.
It brings you back to if your mummy was rocking you in a little rocking chair or something.
Absolutely.
No, you're going to have a ball. You're going to have a ball.
Oh, well, I am so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So tell me, where are you off to?
I'm heading to Tenerife. Now, we have an apartment in Tenerife that we rent on a long-term basis.
All right, yeah.
But I love going to Tenerife. I mean, you've been in Tenerife with me a few times.
I have.
It's fun.
It is great.
It is fun. The only thing is, when I used to go force, I could drink till the cows came home. Okay. And we all could. Now when we go, it's coming 11 o'clock and we're sitting there, the wine is hitting us more and we just want to go home, go to bed. But that's nicer, I think, because you look fresh the next day.
Yeah, I think you get the best of the day the next day. And not only that, but you're not kind of recovering from a hangover.
Yeah, you're not.
So you kind of, Yeah. I mean, I know when I first went out, Mary, I was like, a kid in the sweet shop and I thought, I can't wait to get to the bar and I can't wait to get to the clubs and so on and so forth. And I know the first morning when I woke up, I thought, wow. Is this going to be the holiday, right? And but then I kind of, if you pace yourself, we'd have a night in.
You do learn at their age in particular, we know that we can only take so much.
Night out, night in, night out. Yeah. And
it's nice sitting in a hot place because you can sit out on your balcony or on your terrace.
Yeah.
And you can have a cup of tea, or if you want to have a glass of wine with your dinner, you can have that. Yeah. And where we are in Tenerife, we're not in the mad part. Okay. You were there. Yeah. We're not down by, Playa de las Americas.
It's a lovely spot. What I love about it, where you are, is the fact that everything is on your doorstep.
It is.
It's literally on your doorstep. But yet you go into this complex in the middle of it all, and it's like a little oasis.
It is.
Quiet, low rise.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. It's really friendly. Oh, it's just, to me, it was paradise.
It is lovely. It is, definitely.
Absolute paradise.
I love it now. I'm just trying to get my daughter to come with me.
Has she ever been out with you?
Not to Tenerife. We went to New York and she fainted on the plane. So she has a fear of planes.
Bless her.
And she keeps saying to me, it's 4 hours, Mum. I said, but you went to New York and it was 7.5 hours.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I'll get her to come with me sometime.
Yeah.
We can spend a week in Tenerife and just show her bits and pieces.
Absolutely.
Like, it wouldn't be wild with Deborah. She's not a drinker.
Yeah.
She'd have one or two and then she'd be laughing all the way. She just keeps laughing when she gets drink on her. So, yeah, I'd love that. And we could go to the parks. You know, there's parks there. There's Monkey
Absolutely.
Village. There's all that type of stuff you can go and see. So I haven't seen them because I'm with the girls just go and live their lives. Where if I was with my daughter at 37, she'd love that, going to see the monkeys.
Of course she would. She'd like
to
do a little bit of tourist stuff. Yeah,
and the water parks and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So what's your favourite holiday destination? Do you have one?
Well, I used to go to the Gran Canaria every year.
Okay.
I used to stay in a place called Puerto Rico with my friends, and we used to have some bloody good nights there when we were younger.
Fantastic, yeah.
Then I went over to Tenerife, and that kind of became the holiday destiny.
Okay.
You know, but it's neither of them are now my favourites. I mean, I think if I was to be honest, I went to Florida 2 years with my family, and we did the Disney parks and we did all that, and we went to Harry Potter World and all that. I think I have to say that if I had the money and I could bring all my family, that America, Florida would be it.
I can't believe you just said that, because I mean, on my list now, when I was making my list about my favourite holiday destination, I thought it would have to be Florida.
There you go.
It would have to be Disney World.
Yes.
And I mean, I know it's hype, and I know it's plastic, and I know all of that. But I remember the very first time I went to Disney World, the kids were about 10 and 6, say, right?
Yeah.
And I remember walking into Fantasyland.
Yes.
Right? And I remember the feeling. I became a kid.
You become a child. That's exactly what happens to me.
And I saw Mickey Mouse ahead of me and Snow White.
Yeah.
And they were real. It was magic, the Magic Kingdom. It was unreal.
Yeah. And I think
the rides, the rides, the food. I just loved it.
The whole day in the park. Yeah. I mean, you just have one full day in the park.
One day, but I mean, you need more than one day.
Oh, you need more. And then you've got to go to Universal Studios.
I did that as well.
Yeah. Now, when Harry Potter World opened up, I was actually there.
The Harry Potter
well, it's only opened up, I think, about 5 years or 6 years or something.
Yeah.
But I went in there. I was like a child. Now, at that time, I had bad knees.
Yes.
So all the family are with me. So I had me little, scooter. And I'm driving in, and I can see Gringotts, which is the bank from Harry Potter's, the big dragon coming out of the top. I was like a child in a sweet shop. Yeah. And I bought a wand. I actually bought Harry Potter's wand. I have all them at home.
Brilliant.
And the one time that really stands out was the very first time we went. We brought my dad.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy on him. He was in a wheelchair at the time.
Okay.
And we brought him over. He could walk, but not very far. Yeah. So we brought him over. Now, at this stage, his mind was starting to drift a little.
Okay.
So at one stage, he thought he was in Ballyferma. That's what he said. We're driving down the road, and he said, "This doesn't look like Ballyferma. Are we in Drimmen or something?" Yeah. But we brought him, and we were standing in Disney World, and the parade started. It was morning time.
Yeah.
And it's a small world after all. And they're coming down. You've got Jungle Book. You've got everything, and the girls are all singing. Me and him. Burst into tears. We got so overwhelmed with the excitement of what we watched on TV
and
for years.
The magic of it, yeah.
It was just incredible.
It was like stepping into a fairy tale, isn't it? I mean, the book opens and you step into it, and you suddenly become... And it just brings the child in you totally alive.
It is true, though. You see the advert on the telly. Now, it's very expensive to get there. Unfortunately, it is very expensive.
It is.
But, the advert is, daddy jokes become funny, and mommy is, and what it's saying is you become a kid again with your kid.
Of course you do.
And that's what it is.
The kids got in the way for me.
Yeah.
Because there's too many kids.
Yeah.
Queuing, and I'm going, would you mind getting out of the way, please?
Yeah.
Right? Would you behave yourself, please? Right? Because I want to get on that ride now.
Yeah,
and I love the rides. And I loved, but then again, when I went back when they were older, we did obviously Wet and Wild.
The Wet and Wild is brilliant.
Yeah, the sea.
What's the other one that belongs to Universal that went to? I can't think of the bloody name of it now. I can't think of the name of it, but it has the big roller coaster.
Oh, yes.
Back to the Future. You go into this thing.
Epcot Centre.
The Epcot Centre, yeah.
Well, I
brilliant.
remember we went there, and you go into, and I can't remember what it's called, but you're going on a space trip.
Yes.
Okay, so they put you in. There's 4 of us. We're all in the same kind of seat. You're locked in, and then suddenly you just go into pitch darkness.
Yes.
Right, and then the universe, well, the world opens up in front of you. You see the planets. You see the Earth. You see. It was
Incredible.
mind-blowing.
Incredible.
And then it starts to bring you down you obviously think you're flying, you're in a rocket.
Of course, yeah.
And that you're flying at thousands of miles an hour, and you're coming down, and you actually break into the world, you know. And
Is that where the dinosaurs and all are? Does it bring
no,
you right?
this
No,
is
that's
this
a
is
different
all
one.
this is all to do with the universe and the planets and
Oh,
your
wow.
journey
I
from,
don't think I
from
remember being in
space
that.
into Earth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you come into Earth, and then all of a sudden you can see the clouds, and then you see the trees, and then you see the sea. It is just mind blowing.
There you go.
And
There you
again,
go.
I'm thinking, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you do.
and-
You become a kid
and
again for a couple of weeks.
And even when I said, that would have been one of my favourite destinations for a holiday, and I thought, but it's so plastic. But it's not. It's so fantasy.
It is
so
fantasy. And
escapism.
every single human being needs a bit of fantasy. And I'm not talking
Absolutely.
about the fantasies that we
Oh,
have
I know
as adults.
that we talked
The
about the other
fantasy
night.
of children,
Yeah.
the fantasy of as a young child,
Yeah.
growing that you never got to see, but you seen it on the telly.
Yes.
Albeit sometimes in black and white, you didn't care until the colour came in.
Yeah.
But it does bring you back to be a child. It
Absolutely.
really does bring you back to
Yeah.
be a kid. I love it.
And did you ever, in your younger years, have any holiday romances that you want to share with me?
I did. I had a few of them actually, but the one that sticks out for me.
Why does that not surprise me,
Now,
Mary?
look,
But
this
go on.
is who I was, But I remember we were over in Bella Medina in Spain, and first of all, we met these 3 English guys, Scottish guys, really.
Yeah.
And they'd nowhere to stay. They were staying in a car, but they were real nice, so we let them stay in their apartment. And of course, I got off with one of them, and I had a bit of a fling with him. But on one of the nights, they didn't come down. We had said, you go and do your thing, we'll do our thing. And I met this beautiful Spanish man who had he was standing at the bar. I remember him staring at me. And I'm going, Scarlet for life, you know what I mean?
Scarlet.
But he came over with a rose and gave it to me. And then every night after that, he was there watching me. And then I eventually went over
How much
to
did he
talk to him.
charge you for the roast? He was selling them, wasn't
But
he?
he wanted me to go up and meet He wanted me to go up and meet his parents, who lived up in the mountains somewhere. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not going up there and to be battered and raped and the whole lot. He said, no, you can bring all your friends. You can bring all your friends with you. I don't mind. We'll come up and we'll pick you up. And he was genuine.
Yeah.
And I was with him. I think I ended up with him for about 4 days. And I actually thought I was in love with him. Because when he kissed me, them sparks.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know the electric shocks you
Oh,
get?
absolutely. Yeah.
I got them when he kissed me.
Yeah.
And every time he kissed me for the whole
Electric
4 days.
shock, yeah, absolutely.
Electric shocks through me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Deborah was just 2. And my first holiday after I had her, my mother was minding her. And I had to go home. But it was it was a lovely, I mean, I'm going back to before I had Deborah, I had loads of fucking summer romances.
Holiday romances,
You meet this fella and then he's gone home that week and you meet another fella the next week. But this guy was different. This guy was, I think if things had been different, there could have been something there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was
You
gorgeous.
you don't think it just was going to be a holiday romance and when you went back? Because a lot of the times, and that's what I think holiday romances are lovely for.
Yes.
Because you got that short time, intense.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's exciting.
And it's so exciting, it's so new. And then
Yeah.
you go home and you come back 6 months later and it's like, what did I ever see in you?
Yeah,
you know?
you meet him when you're sober.
Or you come back expecting to get married and he's married already. You know what I mean?
that never entered my head, and I just enjoyed the time I was with him.
Lovely.
You know, he had his friend following me everywhere because he was afraid I was going to get off with somebody else. But it was so nice to be desired.
Oh, isn't it lovely? Isn't
I
that a
think
lovely
I was
feeling?
20. I was 29 at this stage.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and Deborah
Yeah.
was just gone on 2, and
Yeah.
I broke up with her father, and he didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of Spain, and this guy finds me desirable.
Oh,
And that for anyone, man or woman,
Yeah.
is a beautiful feeling. And
Oh,
even
it
if
is.
it only lasts for a few moments,
know.
to know that somebody desired you is
Well,
fabulous.
my very first and only holiday romance, I was 18 and I was hitchhiking through Europe with a friend of mine and we had joined an OGA, you know, the hostels.
yeah.
Right? And we were hitchhiking, and we'd flown into Denmark, and we went from Denmark to Germany, Germany to Holland, and so on and so forth. And we shouldn't have. I mean, our mothers knew we were hitchhiking. I mean, but then we're talking.
I done it too.
This was the late 60s, so everything was fine. Nobody was in any danger. Yeah. So, but I remember we went to Holland, and there was a festival on, and we could not get accommodation, right? No matter where we went, couldn't get accommodation. So we decided that we went into a bar, that's right, and this guy came over to us, and he said, "You're looking for accommodation?" We said, "Yeah." "You stay there, I come back and get you," right? So I said, he's going to sell us off as slaves, right? So he goes off anyway, but while he's away, the friend I was with, Mairead, she was pretty gutsy, and she saw a couple walk past the bar, and so she ran out because they had rucksacks on their back.
Yeah.
"You're looking for accommodation?" "Yes." "Come and join us."
Good
So
woman.
we sit and wait. So when the guy came back, he said, "I have accommodation." He said, "Yeah, for all of us." Right? Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, for all of us. And he said, okay, we come.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we see another guy, right? And his name is, he's from Austria, and his name is Wolfgang.
Oh.
And Wolfgang needs accommodation. "Come with us, Wolfgang." So now there's 1, 2, 5, 5 of us, 6 of us. So off we go anyway, and it's one room. It has a double bed underneath, and then a top bunk bed, and then it has 2 other bunk beds. So there's a bed for the couple.
Yeah.
So, of course, we stayed up all night talking.
Yeah.
We might as well have saved our money, but we got the accommodation. So the next day, we all queued up to get into the hostel.
Yeah.
Right? Now, at this stage, Mary, we're coming to the end of our holiday, and we have no money.
Right.
Right. So, but we know Wolfgang has money, and the married couple has money, and the other guy has money. So we thought we'd do it. So we all clubbed in together, and we said, "Look, we don't mind cooking, but we'll do the cooking if you do the buying."
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Anyway, Wolfgang took a shine to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a student doctor. I will never forget him. Wolfgang Straussel or something his name was, right? And he was a student
Was
doctor.
he wolfy?
He was short, very blonde.
Oh.
Yeah. But really gentle and really caring. And of course, being Irish, you invite everybody to your house, don't you?
You do?
So, and they're all travelling the whole of Europe, right? So this married couple, I've said to them, when you get to Dublin, you look us up, right? "Hey, Wolfgang, when you get to Dublin, you look us up." Jesus, we were only home 24 hours, and a lot of them phoned, right? And of course, I had said to my mother, we're living in a corporation house. I said, "Oh, Jesus, I don't know what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
Well, she said, "Did you tell them we were going to put them all up?" I said, "Well, yeah, but I didn't think they were all going to come at the same time." Anyway, he and I would correspond and phone occasionally, but it was one of those things. I actually have regrets about it because, like you, I'm thinking it might have gone somewhere.
Yeah.
And the last thing I heard from him was he had a request played for me on Radio Luxembourg.
Ah, God.
Yeah, I was sitting listening to it one night in bed about 11 o'clock at night time, and the next thing, I used to listen to.
I remember Radio Luxembourg.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And now we have a special song for a lovely Dublin lady called Eilish, and it's from Wolfgang. And
Oh,
he
my
says,
God.
"I'm still missing you and still waiting for you." And that was,
God.
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's life is funny. One
Yeah.
minute you think you have somebody, and the next minute they're gone.
Yeah.
But, do I regret it? No, I don't regret being with him. And do I regret that something could have happened? Well, sometimes. But that's romances for you.
So what was the worst holiday that you ever had?
I was trying to think of that during the week. I don't think I've had a bad holiday,
Okay.
to be honest with you. I mean, I've always been very lucky with going on holidays with friends and meeting people and just having fun. I don't think I ever had a bad holiday.
Yeah.
Did you ever have one?
Not really. Weather-wise, sometimes it's been a bit poor.
Yeah,
no, I haven't really had.
No.
But I mean, to be honest with you, the weather-wise holidays have always been in Ireland, and they've been miserable because there's nothing you can do.
Well, no, I went to Portugal with my daughter. It was me and her first time, and my brother and his son.
Yeah.
And we went over, and I remember we were just so grateful that we'd booked for 2 weeks because the first week there was thunder and lightning,
Yeah.
belting down.
Yeah.
And I was very depressed because I was saying, for God's sake, the poor kids, they can't even go into
Yeah.
the pool.
Yeah.
But it lasted, I think, about 4 days. So I'd say that for me was probably the worst. Seeing their little faces and not being able to, not being able to get out the sun. But we made fun in the apartments. But I did. That's the only thing I can say about bad holidays.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what are you going to bring? What book are you going to bring with you to read for your holiday?
I actually, when I'm away, I listen to audio.
So do I.
Yeah. So I have. I told you we're twins from different.
I know we are. Yeah.
But at the moment, I haven't even picked. Just finished. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it with embarrassment. The Harry Potter section over and over again. I've just finished it for the last time because I'm at the
You've
listening
got
to
me
it about
onto that
600.
now. I have to download. I have to listen to it. Honestly.
And the other one that we were talking about was Strike. Oh, no,
Strike.
Strike.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic
Now,
load of books. There's 7 of them, I think.
Yeah, but funnily enough, I read the first one, right? And you were talking about it the other day.
Yeah.
And Kathy sent me the link.
All right.
So I opened up the link and I thought, I've just finished listening to that myself.
Yeah.
So I'd obviously downloaded the
So you already had it,
right?
yes.
Now, I enjoyed it, but I found him a bit heavy on the description.
Yes, but...
And it just, for me, I love to get straight to the point, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I find it hard listening to, I'm trying to give you an example. When he walked in and, there were flowers on the unit and there was nobody in the room. I'm going, just what did you see when you walked in? I don't want to hear about the flowers. Was the body in the room or not in the room? And it turns out he's 20 minutes there and there's no body, right?
Yes.
So I go, well, that was a waste of 20 minutes. Can we please get on to the story? So I am a bit like that. Now, I did love the style.
Yeah.
I love the characters. Robin, I think you want them to get together.
Of course you do.
You do want them to get together.
For me, that's what held me.
So that is the hook.
Yeah.
That is the hook, and I reckon it'll take seven books.
It does.
Before it actually happens. I don't have much time in my life.
I'm not going to tell you even if it does.
But I'm telling you now, I don't have that much time in my life to go 7 books to see if he actually lays her or doesn't lay her. You know what I mean? But however, I did enjoy it, and I probably will download it. But I've a couple for you that I think you should definitely have a listen to. And one of them, and again, it's on audio.
Right.
And one of them is called 1,000 Splendid Suns.
Oh.
Right. And it was, now I can't remember I don't know how to pronounce the author's first name.
Yeah.
But his second name is Hosseini, Hosseini.
Okay.
He is born in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And this story is about 2 women. It's about survival. It's about friendship. It's about love. It is heartbreaking. It is moving. It is intense. You will not put it down. I promise.
And what's it called again?
1,000 Splendid Suns.
I'll have a look for that.
And have a look at that.
For the 2
And
weeks.
the other one he wrote as well is The Kite Runner. Beautiful story again. And they just did that as a musical. Musical cum drama. I went to see it at the Gaiety.
Yeah.
And how they managed to
Kite
turn
Runner.
that in, The Kite Runner.
I'll check
Both
that
of
out.
them, but check it out. Now, movie-wise, because you will have your iPad and that with you.
Yeah.
Do you have Prime?
There's Prime. Yeah, we have Prime over there, yeah.
The Miracle Club. Have you watched
I've
it
heard
yet?
about that. I haven't seen it.
Now, Maggie Smith and Kathy
Oh,
Bates.
I love Maggie Smith and Kathy Bates.
It's been shot it's about Lourdes. And it's a story again about reconciliation and forgiveness, families, relationships and so on and so forth. I loved it. I really and truly loved it. Disappointed that they didn't cast Irish actors.
Yeah.
Well, Fionnuala O'Flanagan would have been bloody brilliant in Kathy Bates' part. But apparently Kathy Bates has been interested in this script for the last 20 years anyway. But it is Maggie Smith, is Maggie Smith, what can I say? But you really will enjoy it. We watched it last week.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, this is This
Oh,
is
I'll have
worth
to get
watching.
you. I won't
So you
remember
have to-
those names, so I'll have to get you to write them down for me at some
Oh,
stage.
I will. I'll give it to
Yeah.
you. Before we go tonight now,
Yeah.
I will actually give you the list because
yeah.
it is definitely worth watching. And one of my favourite movies, I have to say, would have been, because I reckon I'm a depressive, would have been Schindler's List.
I can't watch it. I've watched it
It
once
is
and I
heartbreaking.
cried like
It's
a
heartbreaking.
2-year-old.
I watched it because
I mean, Liam Neeson is the
brilliant
sexiest
in it.
thing in the world.
Oh, he
in
is,
it.
yeah.
But
But I watched it and I did cry and I didn't want to watch and I wanted to stop watching it and I thought, no, this is a story that has to be told and this happened to real people. This is really sad. And they've just started showing on Netflix, on Sky, and I don't know whether you've ever heard of it, is the Tattooist of Auschwitz.
I seen the trailers and all for that. Yeah. It's about a gentleman who used to he kept himself alive.
Bear with it.
Yeah.
And it is very moving, very sad, very real. And I had an issue at the very end that only from the point of view I've found it hard to accept that what we will do to survive.
I would never find that hard.
I felt bad about judging. And then I thought, no, you probably would have done exactly what they did.
You would have.
You want to survive. And this is.
But listen, you seen those camps. I mean, the camps back then, they were just horrendous the way those people were treated. And I mean, they weren't just Jewish. It was Catholics. There was all sorts treated that way. But the Jews got the worst of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if you're in a situation like that and you see your family or your friends being brought, never coming back out into this big chamber, you're going to do whatever you can to get the hell out of there. Either that or you'll kill yourself rather than let them do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he did. He just decided, if this keeps me going and I get back out there to hopefully have family out there, and he did it. I don't judge him for doing it. I feel sorry for him.
And I mean, it's been told at an age now where he's obviously coming to the end of his life. And you can see the torture.
Yeah.
That it still kind of tortures him.
Well, apparently every time he tattooed somebody, he said he was sorry.
Oh, yeah, every time.
For doing this, because they're tattooing the numbers.
And there was absolutely no kind of injections. There was no. The infections and, And they were just absolutely horrible, really horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I do love, that's a kind of history. And I do love history films. I mean, at the moment, I haven't seen anything that's on the telly or on the movies, so I haven't got anything new to give anyone.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love like just making it even lighter now. They're my heavy stuff.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
But I actually loved Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, I love Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, Robin Williams.
And Tootsie.
Tootsie was brilliant.
Oh, brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
So I love stories like that.
Well, my favourite film of two men dressing in drag is Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis,
That's right.
and Jack Lemmon.
Brilliant. That was a brilliant
I mean,
movie.
you go right back. That was
you
in
go
the
back
50s.
to those times.
I mean, to see two men dressing up as women was not done.
No, of course it wasn't.
And being in the same bed together.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't together, but it was very, very risky for the time that they did it.
It was.
And it's the funniest film I ever seen.
Yeah.
Josephine.
Oh, it was just very
funny.
clever.
Yeah.
And of course, it's been repeated time and time and time again.
Yes,
since,
I mean, I've watched it, I don't know how many times. Every time I see it, my daughter has recorded it. We have it on DVD. We have it on video. We can't watch it on video anymore because we don't have a video player. And a DVD player we don't have either. So we can't watch it there either.
Okay.
So I watch for it to come on the television. I love it. Love it. And I mean, they're just movies that will never, ever
They'll never date.
No, they'll never date.
You know, they never
Absolutely
will date.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's like the Sound of Music. I saw that when I was a kid and I've never gotten over it.
Neither have I.
Hello, Dolly is another one. It's like, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Ginger Rogers and Fred
Fred
Astaire.
Astaire. Oh, for God's
please.
sake. Top
Thank
hat.
you very much.
That's where they dance to There May Be Trouble Ahead. And they're doing all the tap dance. Oh, stop. I wish I was young. I wish Gene Kelly was still alive and I was only me.
I know. Anyway, TV programmes. Taking you back now in time.
Oh, yes.
What was your most, name a few of the favourite TV programmes that you
Okay,
can
well,
remember.
as a woman, back in the 80s, and I lived with my mum, we used to watch Hill Street Blues. One of my favourite of all times.
That was brilliantly written. That was an amazing script. Yeah, never missed it.
Be careful out there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Never
I loved
missed it. Never
loved
missed it, yeah.
And then there was Dallas. Now, we were all hooked on
Everybody
Dallas.
hooked on Dallas.
They
Swelling.
But they brought Dallas back, which it didn't work.
No, it didn't.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like they're saying they want to bring back the Golden Girls. It's not going to
No,
work.
it's not gonna work.
Not going to work with
No,
them. Leave
no.
it the way it is. I have it on Disney. I watch it over and over again whenever I feel a bit low.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I watch
yeah.
it. Dallas, Hill Street Blues. What was the other one I used to love? We had Dynasty.
We did
and you
Dynasty.
had Vulcan's Crest.
And Joan Collins.
Joan
for
Collins,
Dynasty.
yes,
Excuse
yes.
me, with the big shoulders.
Yes,
yeah,
I mean, they for me they were the great time, and they were all back in the 80s. Like they
Oh,
weren't
yeah,
70s
yeah.
and 60s. They were 80s.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, although
Oh, well, I can go back further than that, Mary, now. Come on.
Okay,
I can go
oh
back to the
God.
Flintstones, the Hillbillies,
Oh, the
Thunderbirds, the Munsters, Star Trek, Doctor Who.
Oh, that was my favourite.
Is it Car 64
no,
or 54?
Car 54, where are you?
So I remember that, but I can even go back further. I remember we were one of the first houses in Ballymun at the time. We lived in Ballymun to get a TV.
Really?
Yeah. And it was my mother was in politics at the time, so she obviously needed it, wanted it for the news or whatever. Obviously on HP, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I remember it was in the dining room come living room. We had a dining room come living room. And the first night that it went on, all the neighbours were there, right? And it was all crackly and right?
Yeah.
And the signature tune of Cliff Mitchamore came on.
Right.
Okay.
We only had HTV, BBC.
We only had BBC. It was only BBC. Didn't even have YouTube. That was only BBC. We didn't have
Oh, no,
RTE1.
we didn't have YouTube.
This
we
was
had
before the
HTV.
60s. No, we didn't. No, I'm talking pre that.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember at 6 o'clock on it, I think it actually started transmitting at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it was, and we made up a song to it. I don't know whether we made it up or it was sung, but I remember as kids, we'd all be sitting around and it went like, look around with Cliff Mitchamore, Cliff Mitchamore, Cliff Mitchamore. Right? That was the beginning. And it was literally look around the week's news, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
But there used to be a programme called Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men.
Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men.
Now, I reckon the script writers for that were as high as bloody kites, right? Because Bill and Ben used to meet behind the potting shed.
They did.
Didn't they?
The potting shed,
And
yes.
they would have conversations.
Yes.
Bit like you and me, Mary.
You got
It's
to
a
tell them that
podcast.
these were
It was the first one. And they-
puppets
Oh,
on
I know.
strings. Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
Bill and Ben, and they'd meet behind the potting shed, waiting for the gardener to come, right? And there was a weed that grew up between them.
Yes.
Mr. Weed.
Weedy.
Weedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you go, there's something not quite right here, right? So I reckon Bill and Ben were probably,
A little bit high.
yeah, were probably a little bit on the, you know.
Do you remember Andy Pandy as well? I mean, jeez.
Andy Pandy. Oh, do you remember? And then you can go even further than that. The Magic Roundabout.
The magic zippity.
They had to be on speed.
Everything was on speed.
You know, the Magic Roundabout and Dougal the dog.
Dougal the dog,
And
yeah.
Florence,
yeah.
there was a Florence.
Florence, yes.
Yeah.
Florence was, yeah, I remember her.
And they all came under the heading of Watch with Mother. And you're going, okay, this is a little bit of an early sex education.
Yes. I was very good.
I did actually enjoy it.
Oh,
must
I
admit.
enjoyed all that. I mean, like I remember getting their first black and white television, and we did have HTV. I remember that very
Yes, do
well.
you remember?
Because I remember the sign that used
Yes.
to come up, and RTE was kind of only starting
Yeah.
as well. So we had the girl in the roundy thing on the
That's
screen,
right.
and the girl sitting there with the book in her
The
hand.
test card.
Yes, the test card.
Yes.
I forget what I was going to fucking say there now. Yeah. But I remember we got my brothers, Jimmy and Tomo, they're the eldest.
Yeah.
And they went out this day and they came back in with this, it was like a magnifying
Okay.
glass on legs.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
But apparently if you put it up against your television, you had colour. Right?
Wow.
The glass was coloured.
Jesus, go on.
Right? So I remember them putting it against, but we couldn't see the television because it was magnified and someone's head was up in the thing. It just goes to show how fucking stupid people were. We went out to do everything. The aerial was on the roof. They fell off the roof trying to put the bloody aerial up.
The aerial up.
Oh,
yeah.
stop.
Did you
Crazy.
my mother had to get one that you put the 2 shillings in the slot.
That's what we had.
The half crown.
2 shillings, yeah.
But you see, my brothers used to take the 2 shillings out.
Oh, stop. The television was
So
robbed
you'd
every
say,
weekend.
gee, every weekend. But we used to watch, my dad's, Lord rest him, favourite programme was The Fugitive.
Oh, The Future, the one-armed man.
As my dad used to call it, the fuckativy. Right? We're watching the fuckativy. Right? And so we'd sit down to watch the fuckativy, and the next thing, the bloody thing would go off. Right?
No.
The money ran out.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Right? Blank screen, right? And it was all...
Everybody looking for 2 shillings.
So, yeah, it was lovely. My mother always watched... what was it now? University Challenge.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was...
And
I watch that now, I can't answer a
could
thing.
answer all the questions,
No,
right?
I couldn't
And then
do
the
that.
other thing, she loved the debates, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember there being a debate on the Late Late Show about contraceptives.
Oh, I remember
Because it was, do you remember the
Was that the day that
the
gay,
women went up?
that gay had the condom?
Yes, because the women went up to Belfast,
Yes.
right? Bought the condoms
Yep.
and all the creams and so on and so forth, and declared them
Yep.
coming back because it was illegal. They wanted to be arrested.
Yeah.
They weren't arrested, right? So in the end, they were blowing up the bloody
That's right, yeah.
condoms and so on. Anyway, this all erupted on the news and so on and so forth. And there was a panel. Now, I think it was the Late Late Show. It might have been Panorama or something like that. No, couldn't have been, because that was an English programme. And they were discussing, and I think there was a priest, and then there was...
Probably Today Tonight, was it?
Yeah, could have been.
Today Tonight,
And,
yeah.
yeah, and they were talking about, it's just, we have to control, women don't have the right to go out and have birth control and so on and so forth. And there's my mother. Now, my mother is levitating. Right, levitating, right? And I cannot believe there isn't one woman sitting on that bloody panel. Not one of you have ever been pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of you have ever had the fear round having another baby. Just too much.
Yeah, yeah.
You have no idea what you said. She was screaming
at the
TV.
television,
But
yeah.
she was dead bloody right. And one guy made a comment, and it always stuck with me. And he said, bad girls, that's right.
No, it's always been a bad girl.
Girls, it makes them bad girls. That's right. Bad girls won't have babies or something. And she went, and I think her comment was, but bad girls don't have babies. It's the good girls that have the babies.
Yes,
The
yeah.
bad girls have the wisdom
Yes.
not to have the babies.
Exactly.
If you want to call them bad. But it's the good, unfortunate 16-year-old, 17-year-old who has absolutely no access to contraceptives in any way, shape or form,
True.
comes home pregnant. And that was her little pet hate. But anyway.
But just to finish off, way back then, we were ruled by the Catholic Church. And what makes me even sick is the fact that they were ruling the women of Ireland,
Of course
and they were sleeping with their fucking cleaners
Of course they were.
and having children with them.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll end on that note, ladies and
We'll end on
gentlemen.
that, yeah,
And we hope to see you back here soon. And,
We do. And remember, we are
the Wise,
Wise Owl
Owl
Wans
Wans, and
podcast.
emphasising on the Owl Wans podcast.
Yes, podcasts. And our email address is
.com.
And so I'm going to say good night. Say good night, Mary.
Good night, Mary.